Shop the Sherwin-Williams 4th of July sale and get 30% off paints and stains June 27th through July 7th. With prices starting at $34.29, it's the perfect time to transform your space with color. Whether you're looking to revamp your interior or exterior, we have you covered with bold hues, soothing neutrals, and everything in between. Visit your neighborhood Sherwin-Williams store or shop the sale online. Delivery available on qualifying orders. Click the banner to learn more. Retail sales only. Some exclusions apply. See store for details.
If you're a podcast host, listen up, this one's for you. My name is Allie Jackson. I'm the host of Finding Mr. Height, a dating and relationship podcast that I've been doing for 4 years now, sharing my positive and practical approach to dating that's built on my own life experience. And I wanted to share another experience that I've had, my secret behind monetizing my show. It's called Red Circle, and I was just telling my colleague about how much I love their platform. With Red Circle, not only am I getting a seamless hosting experience, but I also love the support I receive in ad sales. It's not just typical ad sales either. It's targeted opportunities based on my show and my life. And the platform is super simple. You just set your preferences and Red Circle matches you with sponsors that align with your show. You can vet every opportunity and their platform gives you great analytics. More recently too, my Red Circle team has brought me opportunities outside of my podcast on social media to really augment the podcast partnerships, bring them full circle. I just can't recommend them enough. If you want to give it a try, go to redcircle.com to get your free trial. That's redcircle.com for a free trial.
Have you ever read a self-help book that absolutely transformed your life?
Or have you ever read one that made you feel worse after reading it and you didn't know why?
I'm Misty Stinnett.
I'm Lisa Linky.
And we are the hosts of Go Help Yourself, a comedy self-help podcast to make life suck less.
On our show, we review the best and the worst self-help books of all time.
We read and review the buzziest self-help books so you can find out if a book is a total gem or a complete waste of time.
There are already over 100 book reviews ready for you to listen to. And we don't just talk about books.
That's right. We discuss every aspect of the self-help world, covering topics like relationships, boundary setting, finances, productivity, and so much more.
No matter what we're discussing, we come at it with a critical eye, a lot of heart, and a healthy dose of humor.
So help us out and tune in to Go Help Yourself wherever you get your podcasts.
Hey everyone, it's Selene. Now that the dust has settled on the Karen Read not guilty verdict, I want to look at the reactions to it, or lack of a reaction, and find out what they really mean. And let's ask the question, can John O'Keefe ever get the justice he deserves? Let's begin with most of the people who were inside 34 Fairview. Is their quick and vicious reaction a desperate attempt to deflect? With the not guilty verdict, suddenly the people who were inside 34 Fairview have lost their scapegoat. If justice is to be sought for John O'Keefe, and I surely hope it will be, those people have some explaining to do. So perhaps it was a preemptive strike when they released their statement just after the verdict was read. In a statement from Jennifer McCabe, Matthew McCabe, Chris Albert, Julie Albert, Colin Albert, Nicole Albert, Brian Albert, Kerry Roberts, and Kurt Roberts, they called the verdict a miscarriage of justice. And this is the statement. Today, our hearts are with John and the entire O'Keefe family. They have suffered through so much and deserved better from our justice system. While we may have more to say in the future, today we mourn with John's family and lament the cruel reality that this prosecution was infected by lies and conspiracy theories spread by Karen Read, her defense team, and some in the media. The result is a devastating miscarriage of justice. I tried to find out who released this statement, but I could only find out family representatives. As Jerry Seinfeld said, who are these people? I find it funny that Kerry Roberts and her husband were a part of the statement. Kerry Roberts was a friend of John O'Keefe's. Karen called her, as well as Jennifer McCabe, and Kerry Roberts came up for the ride to look for John. She and Jennifer McCabe were there when Karen found John. But Kerry Roberts was not a friend of the McCabes and the Alberts. She was an outsider completely. And the McCabes and the Alberts clearly mocked Kerry and used her in order to promote their own agenda. So how and why would she attach herself to them, especially after she admitted she perjured herself when she backed up Jen McCabe's BS Google search explanation? You might remember that Google search explanation, house long to die in the cold. House was the misspelling of how, which she claims she did at the request of Karen Read. At first, Kerry backed her up and said she heard Karen ask too. But no, now Kerry admitted that she did not actually hear Karen say that. So if she knew that Jennifer McCabe asked her to lie about that, why is she suddenly going along with the statement? It confounds me. At this point, I think anyone who watched the trial and listened to the testimony unbiasedly knows that the conspiracy was against Karen Reed. The biggest proof? There was no collision. And a dog caused the injuries to John O'Keefe's arm. But there's also Lucky, the snowplow driver, who saw no body in the snow all the times he went by, but he did see a Ford Edge parked right where the body was later found on his last run. And a Ford Edge is owned by, guess who? The Alberts. Sergeant Nicholas Barrows was there when Karen Reed's Lexus was picked up and brought to the Sally Port, the infamous Sally Port at the Canton Police Department. And he testified that the taillight did not look all broken like it later did in the pictures in court. Yeah, he had nothing to hide. He was actually from a different department than Canton. So go figure that, wow, he did not see a broken taillight. Just cracked. Officer Kelly Devers, remember, it's not Devers, she's not a beaver. She was an amazing witness, it turned out, for the defense because she had previously testified that she watched Brian Higgins and the chief of police go into the Sally Port for a wildly long time, something like that were her words. And what were they doing there? Okay. Then in this trial, she claimed that it was a false memory, which is the most absurd, so disingenuous. She's the worst, right? And the face, that petulant little face, oh my God. I mean, it was just ridiculous. She couldn't admit that she perjured herself, so now she claims she came up with a false memory because she said, my career rides on what I say today. The police commissioner called her in and said, well, we have your back no matter what, but watch what you say, basically. I mean, we don't know exactly what he said, but when you're called in by the police commissioner, you better watch what you say, right? And there's also Brian Higgins was drunk at the Canton police station at 3 a.m. So think about that. He drove to the Canton police department in a nor'easter, drunk, didn't go home, was like, what the hell? I want to go do some paperwork. That was his explanation. He wanted to take care of things. Give me a break. Okay? That's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. Brian Higgins also destroyed his cell phone at a military base. That's what all innocent people do. They go to a military base and they put it in some sort of a refuse container that you cannot ever get it out from again. Because why wouldn't you do that? Brian Higgins also texted both Karen and John that night. So let's talk about Brian Higgins. There's way more evidence against him than there ever was against Karen Reed. Funny how he wasn't a part of the big indignant statement put out by the McCabes and the Alberts. Oh, and Kerry. Nor was he a part of the interview the McCabes and Alberts gave, in which they offered all sorts of explanations for their sus behavior. They protest too much, methinks. But Brian Higgins, who brought a lawyer to court with him when he testified in the first trial, is nowhere to be seen. Once I heard Devers' false memory, I realized that it was Higgins, not Proctor, who tampered with the taillight. Remember, Michael Proctor was the state trooper who was fired in the wake of his horrible behavior. But we're going to talk about him in the next recording. I'm going to make another recording devoted more to him and his falsehoods and the fact that he was fired. But I don't think Michael Proctor actually tampered with that taillight. I think it's proven that Brian Higgins did it. And there's only one reason why Brian Higgins would do that. I believe that Brian Higgins killed John O'Keefe, and the rest of the people in that house aided him in covering it up. The police investigation was shoddy even before Michael Proctor entered. If you've listened to me previously, you've heard about the evidence collection. I mean, seriously, the red Solo cups, okay? There was also a leaf blower. I mean, a leaf blower, yeah, that's not going to hurt any evidence. That's not going to blow anything away, right? There's the whole thing with the ring camera not checked, right? There was a lot of things going on here. Crazy, crazy stuff. Then the dog was not tested at all. They say that the dog is now renamed Cora. The dog's name was Chloe. They say they know where the dog is, okay? if they know where the dog is, and supposedly that Yuri went over and talked to the owners and interviewed the new owners because they're going to have information because they were there, right? No, not. And this dog, not tested at all. Can't compare the dental and the claws to John's injuries. I mean, what is that? That's like basic police work, isn't it? But Proctor honed in on Karen immediately, as attested in his texts. So this investigation was shoddy and not done properly at all. But did Proctor actively tamper with the evidence? Or was he just so stupid that it was easy for the people inside 34 Fairview to steer him toward Karen? Nothing to see here.
Shop the Sherwin-Williams 4th of July sale and get 30% off paints and stains June 27th through July 7th. With prices starting at $34.29, it's the perfect time to transform your space with color. Whether you're looking to revamp your interior or exterior, we have you covered with bold hues, soothing neutrals, and everything in between. Visit your neighborhood Sherwin-Williams store or shop the sale online. Delivery available on qualifying orders. Click the banner to learn more. Retail sales only. Some exclusions apply. See store for details.
Brian Albert is a cop, a first responder. These are people who throw themselves into a situation to help others. But he didn't go outside his house to help. He said, "I'm not a Canton police officer. I'm a Boston officer." Give me a break. That is not how it works at all. Any cop you know will tell you they rush to help in any situation. This is what they do. They've sworn an oath and they love it. This is what they do. I've never met a cop who said, "Oh, I would have stayed in bed because I'm not one of those officers. I'm a different officer." That's ridiculous. Think about how many people rushed down to help at 9/11 that were not necessarily called. They went to do it, okay? This is what first responders do. They rush toward the problem. They rush toward the fire. They rush toward any police activity. This is what they do. Brian Albert said he'd have taken a bullet for John O'Keefe because he was a fellow officer, right? But he wouldn't go to his funeral. None of them did. There was definitely something foul going on in law enforcement. The chief of police with Higgins in the Sallyport, by the way, why on earth is it called the Sallyport? Come on, it's a garage. What's Sallyport? What is this? They have their own vernacular in Canton, in Boston? What's going on? It's a side note. The police commissioner calling Kelly Devers into his office before her testimony, the cameras not working in the Sallyport at the time when the taillight would have been tampered with, and the decision to prosecute Karen Reed without tangible evidence and to arrest her before ruling anyone else out. Oh, and the DA's continued persecution of her after the mistrial, which should have forced them to see the myriad of flaws in this case. Now, finally, DA Morrissey has given the statement, "The jury has spoken." But Prosecutor Brennan lashed out at the jury, saying they got it wrong, and he personally knew that there was only one possible perpetrator, Karen Reed. This is worse than a sore loser. It is a disgrace and a desecration of our justice system. A prosecutor is supposed to want truth and justice for the victim. And will there be justice for John O'Keefe? I think there may be. Well, there can be if the Commonwealth is willing to say, "My bad, let's reopen the investigation." They can still search the house to see if there's a ridged edge that matches the wound on John's head. They can still find blood thanks to Blue Star. I love luminol. I always hear about that, but now I heard Blue Star could be even better. I heard that from a former crime scene tech. I've talked about this podcast before. It's called Duty Ron. It's 2 New York City cops, and one of them was a crime scene guy, and he was saying all the things he would do if he went into that house. And he had a lot of stuff. He had like infrared cameras. There was a lot of stuff he could do. And then he mentioned that he would do Blue Star, which is apparently better than luminol. I say we go send him there. I mean, if the people will let him in. I mean, enough is enough. But if he could do it, then also the Commonwealth could do it. They can send in investigators. And if the dog named Cora formerly was Chloe, they could compare her teeth and claws to John's injuries. They can't interrogate Brian Higgins, who has lawyered up. I don't understand about the law. You should be able to interrogate people even if they have a lawyer. I mean, the lawyer can sit with them, but you should be able to interrogate them. But again, they already have more evidence against Brian Higgins than they ever did against Karen Reed. He was the one with the drunken rage, jealous of John for having what he wanted, what he almost had. Did he do it on purpose? No. I don't think so. I think he wanted to fight John. I don't know what John knew about this. Oh, poor John. This is just, oh. But I think John walked in. I think he got ambushed right away, struck right away by Higgins. I think the dog jumped in. You know how dogs jump in when there's excitement, there's something going on in the house. I think the dog attacked because Brian attacked. Somehow, accidentally, I think that John O'Keefe hit his head. Maybe he fell down the cellar stairs. I know there was a lot of talk about that possibility. I think Brian Higgins did it alone and the dog jumped in. But then I think everybody else covered up with him. I think that they made a decision not to call 911. The doctors that testified in the case all said that John did not die right away. So therefore, they made a decision to let him die. Why not just say it was an accident? What could have happened to them? The man would have lived. I mean, they let somebody die. That's murder to me once you decide you're going to let somebody die. I think Brian Higgins could be charged with the murder too, that they so easily charged Karen with without any evidence of such a thing. I mean, the manslaughter, they couldn't even prove the collision, right? The manslaughter was a stretch, but murder too? Yeah, I don't think so. That's ridiculous. Will the FBI reopen their case? Was it ever really closed? What exactly were they investigating? Police corruption or the crime? Michael Easter, a former FBI agent who was not allowed to testify for the defense, says the FBI investigates police corruption. That's why they were on the case. So perhaps they aren't investigating who did it, but they could certainly stir some shit up and make the Commonwealth suddenly see a different side of things, if only to regain some dignity. I've said this before. This case is all about us. When all possibilities in a case are ignored and one person is persecuted in haste, that is the undoing of justice for all. As the African-American jury foreman said in an interview, the cops didn't go in that house. I know they would have gone in if it were my house. Next time, I'll dig in on the cancer called Proctor and John O'Keefe's family and the courtroom antics of Brennan and Judge Bev. And let's talk about Michael Easter, the man forbidden to testify. As Martin Luther King Jr. said, injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. Aristotle said, at his best, man is the noblest of all animals. Separated from law and justice, he is the worst. And Albert Einstein said, in matters of truth and justice, there is no difference between large and small problems, for issues concerning the treatment of people are all the same. Thanks for listening. I'm going to have more to say next time. I'll record it as fast as I can. Proctor, wow, that guy has some set on him, man. That guy, I just don't know what to say about Michael Proctor. But I will find things to say about him. And I'll talk about John's family. Unfortunately, they're just blinded to the truth. But why? We'll talk about that. And we'll talk about Judge Bev. They call her Auntie Bev, and it's not for a nice reason. We'll talk about her, and we'll talk about Brennan, and we'll wrap up the rest of the reactions of the Karen Read trial. Take care.
If you're a podcast host, listen up, this one's for you. My name is Allie Jackson. I'm the host of Finding Mr. Height, a dating and relationship podcast that I've been doing for 4 years now, sharing my positive and practical approach to dating that's built on my own life experience. And I wanted to share another experience that I've had, my secret behind monetizing my show. It's called Red Circle, and I was just telling my colleague about how much I love their platform. With Red Circle, not only am I getting a seamless hosting experience, but I also love the support I receive in ad sales. It's not just typical ad sales either. It's targeted targeted opportunities based on my show and my life. And the platform is super simple. You just set your preferences and Red Circle matches you with sponsors that align with your show. You can vet every opportunity and their platform gives you great analytics. More recently too, my Red Circle team has brought me opportunities outside of my podcast on social media to really augment the podcast partnerships, bring them full circle. I just can't recommend them enough. If you want to give it a try, go to redcircle.com to get your free trial. That's redcircle.com for a free trial.